everything from the White House to the Super Bowl. Folks, please say hello to Jimmy the Greek Snyder. Hi, Jimmy. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show.
Since I can make it all even, you can come on our show tomorrow, then tell us what's wrong with the Giants.
All right, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay.
All right. I mentioned here the White House to the Super Bowl. Since we just mentioned it, since we were talking about Gary Hart, could you now give us odds on the Republican nominee, the Democratic nominee, and the ultimate winner?
And Gary Hart, too?
Yeah, whatever
See
you
what
want.
Too Much Love's done for you?
What's that?
It blows out your brains.
Okay.
That's mine.
I see.
Okay. Now, the Republican nominee, it's 8-5 that Bush beats Dole.
Uh-huh.
Now, it's 6-1, you can't guess who the Democrat's going to be, and I don't care who you take.
Yeah.
And it's 50-1 against Hart.
Uh-huh. And are there odds now on Cuomo being brought back into the fray?
Well, if anybody would make them, it would be me, and I don't think Cuomo wants to run, but I would have to make him a 20-1 shot.
Mm-hmm.
Only because he doesn't want to run. If he would run, he'd be a 3-1 shot.
Yeah.
If Iacocca would run, he'd be 2-1. You know.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You think so?
Definitely.
What about a guy like Donald Trump, who looks like a candidate somewhere down the road, but won't really say anything?
You know, I'm glad you asked that. But you see, there's a difference here. There's a way of doing this. Donald is a Republican sort of in the middle of the road. He'd have to leave that side because Bush and Dole have that all tied up. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the delegates. But if he would leave and go on the Democratic side, he could bury all these people. Look at Hart. I mean, all of a sudden, he's #1. I mean, that's an impossibility. Now, Mr. Trump is arrogant, he's egotistical, but he's smart, and he's beautiful, and he knows how to do things.
Right.
If he would switch to the Democratic side, he could win the Democratic nomination because he knows how to put things together, put slates together in every state. He could win because then he'd go against Bush, and I'll tell you something. It would be a close election. I know that sounds ridiculous.
No, it does sound ridiculous because I think when people I mean from the standpoint when you talk to Donald Trump, you think maybe in 4 years or in 8 years, but now to suddenly
there's nobody there, David.
Yeah, but things have already started, and for him to announce that he's switching parties, I mean, who's going to accept that? And
Reagan did. Why not?
Well, all right. Now, how do we describe you? You're a professional gambler, and
I was a professional.
You don't gamble
gambler
anymore?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, except on the market every morning, like 500 or 600 shares of stock every day.
But most of your life, that's how you made your living, right?
1962. Yeah.
I think you were the first gambler that Americans probably became aware of on a national basis.
That's because I made the numbers first. That was all. You know. I mean, I've been around for 50 years, so consequently.
Do you remember how you started gambling? What your first bet was? How much you won?
The first big one I remember.
What
the
was
first
that?
time I bet $500 or more was on Lewis against Smelling in 1930 something, 39 or something. I had to borrow $500 so I could lay 9 to 5.
Had this been something you got from your family or your friends? Were they all gamblers as well?
No, I was born in Steubenville.
Yeah.
I was born in Steubenville, Ohio. I mean, and I was 25 before I found out that gambling was illegal because they had 11 gambling houses in a town of 40,000.
Is that right?
You know, I say that. I mean, it's kind of cute, but it's true.
Yeah.
If you had to exist, you either had to work in a coal mine or a steel mill or gamble, and I thought that was easier.
Now, when you were gambling regularly, on any given weekend, how many different bets at how much money would you have out?
No, you don't. When I was gambling, I never played a lot of games. I would wait and play a lot of money on one game.
Like, give us an example.
Well, the big one that I lost, in fact, was Kentucky against Santa Clara in 1950. I bet $250,000 on it. But you know...
I'm sorry? $250,000 on one game?
Yeah, but I lost it.
Jeez, that's
But you know,
depressing.
I bet $50,000 on the other 5 bowl games that day, and I won all 5 of them. But you know what? Goes to show you how
reaching
smart
for
I
my
was.
wallet to give you a hand, and you broke even then that day.
Yeah, I broke even, but the whole thing about it, you know, today there's people in Vegas and around the country that do that every week.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nothing.
It's really mushroomed, hasn't it?
It sure has.
Do you remember your single biggest win and your single biggest loss? Was that it, the $250,000 loss?
A big win was Truman against Dewey, you know.
Really? You had money on that?
Yeah. I didn't have to put up too much for that.
I wouldn't think so. And how much did you end up bringing home?
I took 17-1. I mean, it's a matter of record that I won 170,000. But Winchell was around, and somebody, by the time the story was told and retold, he had me winning $1,700,000. Then I had the IRS on my back for about 7 years after that.
How are you and Brent getting along? Wasn't there about 5 years ago, you guys got into a scuffle in a bar or something?
Now listen, we've been together for almost 13 years. We're entitled to one argument. I mean, you have that many arguments with your wife every week. No, Brent said something he shouldn't have said, and I did something I shouldn't have done. He and I are the closest of friends. I saw him on your show.
But somebody did get punched, right?
Well, it was about even.
All right, a little punch out. Did you hear that, Paul? We're entitled to one punch out. This is the man you see every, I guess, Saturday and Sunday now, right?
Well, Saturday and Sunday this week, right?
Yeah.
And next week also.
Jimmy the Greek. Pleasure to meet you, Jimmy. Thank you very much for being here. We'll be back with Ron.
This Christmas, MGM wishes you peace on earth.